Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I am hosting Jan Stringer. We're going to be talking all about the magic of sacred synchronicity, one of my favorite topics. I'm super excited, but let me go ahead and read you Jan's bio first. So Jan Stringer, founder of PerfectCustomers, Inc., is a pioneer in applying the law of attraction to business and will give you everything you need to get started immediately on your way to building your heart-centered business, doing something that you love. She can help you eliminate costly mistakes and take the struggle out of reaching your business goals. Her books, Attracting Perfect Customers, The Power of Strategic Synchronicity, and Being Attraction, that's BEE-ING, What Love Has to Do with Business and Marketing, illustrate a fresh angle about doing business in the new economy. Jan's training defies logic and will have your heart-centered business be successful. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Liz. Great to be with you.
Yeah, so great to have you. Super excited about this conversation about synchronicity. So why don't you go ahead and share what was your journey to coming up with this concept?
Yeah, I've started my business over 20 years ago. So I was a corporate person, many years doing that sort of thing, VP of sales, all about that inside of other companies. And I had gotten to this place, I know many have experienced that, where you just feel like you check your soul at the door, pick it up on the way home. So one day I'm like, I've just got to find out, what am I passionate about? And there's got to be, I could been in sales for so long that I'm sure I could eke out a living for myself after earning, so many millions of dollars for other companies. So that's how it all got started. And it took me about 3 years of soul searching to figure out, what do I want to do? What is my message? And that's really what I was most interested in. What am I passionate about? And after it all started to come in together. It took a while, but my passion turned out helping others to do the same thing, to really tap into, why am I in the business I'm in, and what's the purpose that is, combining my passion and purpose with this particular way that I'm earning a living. So I've been doing that for many years, and that was what the key focus was for those years. But I've been shifting and changing like so many of us. So I'll tell you about that as we go forward. But that's how I got started. Yeah.
Awesome. And you were really a pioneer in the whole law of attraction movement. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I learned about law of attraction through books and Unity Church. And I started applying that principle in my work as a VP of sales. And one day I just noticed, that's very interesting, that when I know so-and-so is on the line, I get excited about them, but when I know it's somebody else, I don't get excited about it. Maybe I let it roll over to the voicemail. And I'm like, what is that? How can I have more customers that are the kind of people that I really want to work with? And that's how that got started, just my own inquiry. And I realized I had been applying the law of attraction to my particular business. And so when I left corporate America, I I'd never seen anybody out there in all the law of attraction discussions really applying it to a business focus. So I was a pioneer with that.
Awesome. Can you define what your definition of synchronicity is for us?
Synchronicity for me is something that happens. It's a natural state of occurrence that happens, but it always seems magical, or it seems out of the blue. But really, it's a law of physics, that when I am truly in alignment with what I'm all about, and I'm in alignment with my path, that's in alignment with the universe, what the universe has in store with me, these synchronicities start to happen more frequently. So that's what I think it is. And lately I've been defining synchronicity a little bit more on a spiritual side, but for the first part of my business, for the last 20 years, I was only in a more of a business context. But I think synchronicity is what I used to say is it's a strategic result. Like that's what I knew. So when I started my business, I created a strategy that I taught to so many people, and it's about how to attract your perfect customer through a strategic plan. And that's really functioning, still works. It works fine. But the world has changed in those many years. And I too have changed. And I realized that I wanted more of a spiritual and a sacred approach. And so now my focus is, how can I really tune into my divine, my spirit, my guides, my angels, however you want to describe it, and speak and walk my truth. And then, and only then, when I am truly feeling in touch with that, do these synchronicities start to happen more frequently.
I see. So with your connection with spirit, that's where you made the switch from just regular synchronicity to sacred synchronicity, calling it sacred synchronicity. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
The sacred synchronicity is a concept. It actually was invented in a VIP session I had with a very magical being named Alan Davidson, who gifted me with this particular session in May of 2017. And in August of that same year, my husband died. And he and I were business partners. And he'd been ill, but it was very sudden that his death occurred. And because that was like the beginning of a whole new transition for me, that I had been in a particular, way of doing things for, many years. But then all of a sudden, everything changed, like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how I did things anymore. I didn't even know what I truly wanted. So it was a redirection of my life. And I spent the last 4 years going into, what do I really want now? And I've moved more away from just traditional business concepts and helping business owners, more into helping people look into their soul. And that's really what I think my gift was all along. And I taught that, and I just called it something different, but now I'm more blatant about it, let's say, because I came out and I've been letting people know I am so psychic. I'm very psychic. I'm clairvoyant. I was always intuitive. But as a friend of mine corrected me one day, she said, "Stop saying you're intuitive. You are psychic,"
Yes.
And I stumbled into a book that was actually on my shelf for many years by Sonia Choquette, called The Psychic Pathway, thumbing through it. She defined psychic for me that really helped. It means, translated, of the soul.
Oh, wow.
And so when I read that, I went, okay, now that was a sacred synchronicity to stumble into the book, the very message I needed to help me feel more comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm psychic. I'm of the soul. And I help people to look in their soul. I can mirror that back to them, because we can't do that for ourselves. And so that kind of put everything in a relaxed way for me that before I was a little nervous about.
Wow, that's beautiful, Jan. I have goosebumps, or as I like to call them, truth bumps around that. That definitely was a synchronicity for sure.
Definitely.
I want to speak to that a little bit more, your self-discovery piece, because I think when we experience loss or we're experiencing adversity, we really go into a place of self-discovery. So can you share a little bit more with our listeners about what that process was for you, to maybe give them, a look into how, what we're experiencing right now, all of the difficulty and division and adversity that we're experiencing over the last couple of years, how they can actually use that, to go into a space of self-discovery.
Yeah. Well, when COVID hit, for example, I was getting ready to sell my business. I had someone already ready to do that, to buy it. And I was going to go into, whatever was next for me. I didn't quite know at that point. And then, we have this pandemic, and I just put the sale of the business on the back burner because it felt like it didn't feel as important anymore. Like other things became important. I think that's what happens in a tragedy, is that other things that weren't important before become more important. And so for me, as I was delving into that, I started to seek out other teachers. So I've been a teacher and a coach for all these years, but I felt like I needed to go and learn some things from other people so that they could reflect my soul to me. I needed that. So that's how I got started with it. And then writing is always a good way to get started with things for me. And I was invited to be part of a compilation book called Soulful Leadership. And I'm like, well, I think instead of, just putting out what I have always talked about, this is the opportunity to bring forth sacred synchronicity. So I started there with a 700-word chapter. And then other synchronicities start to happen from that. That was a seed, a catalyst. And one of them was that I was invited to speak at the Soulful Leadership Retreat. That was a virtual retreat. And I'm like, oh gosh, now I have to really talk about sacred synchronicity. What is it? And it was scary and daunting because I didn't have those words. Like, for you want to talk about attracting perfect customer, I can just do that, all day, all night, right? So easy. But here's a new language. I don't know what I'm speaking. And I had to really go inside of myself to go, okay, what does spirit want me to say? And that is how I've really gone through it. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm just baby stepping it. I've had like a big change. My life is different. I feel different. The world is different. So I can't take these big giant steps. I can take little bitty guided steps and trust that I'm going to be okay, that I'm going to be guided. And so I did that event, and I'm like, well, I think if people hear me speak and they want to know more, I need to have something to offer. So I offered them a class and a free session with me.
Oh, that's great.
So then I had like all these sessions. I went to the very first one, and she shared with what she would like to talk about. And then I said, well, would you like me? This was just a nudge. I hadn't really pre-thought it, that I was aware of. I said, well, would you like me to respond as a traditional business type coach response? Or do you want to hear from the voice of sacred synchronicity? I had never said that before. And now I'm in this space of allowing it to emerge. I'm like, whose voice of sacred synchronicity? That's me. And so she says, yes, her eyes lit up. And she goes, oh yeah, let's hear from that. And so it was the, spirit saying, do your thing, use your gift. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have everything figured out. And so that was the beginning of me stepping into my spiritual psychic self. And I've done lots and lots of these sessions since that time. And each one, I get a little deeper into allowing myself to be, the messenger, being guided, showing people what they need to see, or sending a message to them of what they need to hear.
That's fantastic. I love that. What are some of the messages that sacred synchronicity wants to channel through you?
Surprisingly enough, some of them have been around healing. I never really thought of myself as a healer per se, but I started bringing through some information from Atlantis. And I was able to share healing that we did in Atlantis. I know I'm a descendant from there. I have many memories. And one of the memories that was coming back to me is of the temple, the healing temple. And so when I was working with somebody and they needed healing, the temple would appear in my vision. They may not see it if they're not, visual as I am, but I would see it. And I was so vividly, and I would take people into the temple, and I would just be guided how to work with them. And but the Atlantean Healing Temple is just, it is just magical. It's so beautiful. It's like this big dome-shaped room, and it has beautiful art and sculptures, and the energy is so high, and many times people, for the healing to occur, need a raise in their vibration. Mm-hmm. And I have since learned, one of my teachers, Barry Akatel, helped me to learn that there's a difference in frequency and vibration, that our frequency is our connection with our divine. Mm-hmm. And our vibration is the vibration for our outward self. And so those are two different things. So what I hadn't known before that is that if I was just working on raising my vibration, if you think about the Hawkins scale, of vibration, where you can raise, different emotional vibrations and numbers on his chart. You can chart yourself there and raise your vibration by changing your emotions. But if you're not doing the sacred work, the frequency work, there can be an imbalance, and you won't be getting sacred synchronicity unless you're bringing the two together. And so that's what I learned as I was in my own Atlantean healing process and temple. So that was one thing, is healing. What's another thing? Love. I've been helping people with romantic partners. I met my own twin flame recently, which has been very, very spiritual. Twin flame connection forces you almost into a deeper spiritual connection if you're ready for it. But if you're not, then the partner that's not ready for it will bolt. And I had that happen. So it has caused me to have a deep healing when that happened. First, you're elated, you've met your twin flame, and then they leave, they separate, and your soul is just in anguish. And I had to really go into a dark night of my soul and let out all of that pain. So I didn't know what was happening, but fortunately there's some great materials and books to read about it, and it helped me to understand it. So now I'm helping others to tap into who is their perfect love, who would be their spiritual romantic partner, or even twin flame or soulmate.
Wow, that's great.
So those are some of them. And so those, I think I will be teaching, I see 4 different areas, probably something around the heart, something around healing, something around your success, and something around probably your financial success. Because I know I can help people make more money, but I haven't really dipped my toe in that department too much yet. But anyway, it's all there, becoming.
Nice. And that's similar to your strategic attraction model with the 5 steps. Mm-hmm. Really laying it out and opening it up for people to really dive in and get in alignment. So with the work that you've been doing so far with Sacred Synchronicity, what are some of the ways that we can get in alignment, with it, to have that awareness, to be in a flow with that synchronicity?
It sounds very simple, really, but busyness is one of the hardest things to balance and be spiritual. I can't do what I do and be super busy, hyper busy, like I used to go, you know. I need a lot of space. I need a lot of room to be. That is probably one of the biggest things that people have a challenge with if they're, you know, they have families, they have careers, they have all sorts of commitments. So probably if you wanted to start somewhere is to find a place, a space inside of your life where you can definitely tap into what you're all about. And that can be done, it can be done through working with teachers or through somebody like me who can help you to see why are you busy? Why are you so busy? It's not a time when we're supposed to be busy, busy, busy all the time. It's a time where we're supposed to learn more about who we are and tap into our own divine connection.
Nice. That's so true too. There are so many gifts in personal development and looking within and taking the time and creating space for yourself to just be and listen.
I use cards. This is a very simple tool. Anybody, you can use any set of cards, I think. I have one called the Divine Dog Wisdom, which is awesome. But this is one I use a lot. It's called the Energy Oracle Cards by Sandra Ann Taylor.
Cool.
Don't know her personally, but I find cards is a way to tap into it, you know, just drawing cards and letting, what is the message that you're getting, and pause. And there's a moment you can do that.
Mm-hmm. You
can see my little sacred geometry.
Nice.
Spinning up here. This is a Metatron cube. It's all built in sacred geometry, which sacred geometry is the law of physics, that when you are in perfect alignment with yourself and your environment, then you start to have those synchronicities. And so you can create your space to be in alignment with your divine self. So that's another thing you could do. I thought of another one. It'll come back to me in a second. Lots of little things, you know, these are not overly big things, but making your space, making your life have something built in where you can feel your connection to spirit.
Nice. And I'm sure it's very individual to everyone, you know, what works for them, ways that they can connect with spirit, you know, make that connection, whether it be through meditation or cards or another divination tool or the sacred geometry, as you were saying, or, you know, other modalities for sure. Even, you know, walking, intentional walking.
Yes, I do that every day. Every day.
I love that.
Well, I have a dog, so she gets me out. But I thought of the other thing that I've been trying lately that I really like as a tip. Go to YouTube. There are tons and tons and tons of videos that very talented people have made, and I sleep to them. And I put them on at night. Sleep time is a wonderful creation time. You can tap into your ethereal self. You may have, you know, a lot going on during the day, but that's your time. You can use it to raise your frequency, clear your aura, you know, align your chakras, have deeper sleep, have better dreams, attract your twin flame. And there's all of these wonderful things out on YouTube, and hypnosis. I mean, there's lots of places that you just see what draws you in. If you feel a resonance with it, give it a try. But I do that every single night. I'm finding that very helpful.
That's awesome. I love that too.
Yeah.
You know, sleep and dream is a really important time. Mm-hmm. For sure.
And journaling, journal. Yeah. It's not rocket scientist. It's finding ways of what works for you and allowing yourself the gift of this connection.
Cool. I loved what you said in your article. Spiritual relationships that take you closer to God and help you to see who you are at a soul level. Can you talk a little bit about that sacred connection with people?
Yeah, I found out through the attracting perfect customer work, that, just very simply that there's certain people that I'm in alignment with and certain people I'm not. And the ones that I'm in soul resonance with are the ones that I want to be with. And so sometimes there's people around you that you aren't in soul resonance, but you'll know the ones that are, because they're the ones that they love what you say. They align with, they have similar values. Um, so if you're going to hang out with certain people, let it be people that you're in resonance with. And people can come and go. Not everybody is forever. And so sometimes we draw the people in that we need to learn from or learn a soul lesson from. They can be our greatest teachers, but the ones that you really want to spend your quality time with are the ones that really, they see you and you see them. And that's what's most important. These are your spiritual connections.
Nice. Beautiful. I love those spiritual connections.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, they really do, give us little gifts. They're beautiful gifts in our life for sure. We're such a web, such a weave of a tapestry of life, just influencing each other as we weave next to one another.
Absolutely. I love the way you said that. I like that image of weaving. It makes it very beautiful.
Thanks. How can we bring sacred synchronicity into our lives?
Well, listening to this is one way. It's like, before you listen to this, you didn't know there was anything that existed like that. And that's what I've discovered. I will share with people. It's kind of like, I can share with you the information, but the experience is what counts. So I've been discovering that people, I'll share a little bit about it, maybe not a lot, just maybe even those 2 words. And next thing I know, I have people saying, I've had a sacred synchronicity, or they're telling me, oh, that's a sacred synchronicity. So it's when you see it, it was divine. It was sacred. Only the angels or God could have created that to happen, because it's so out of the blue or synchronistic. And so how can you have more of that? Stop trying to force things. And I think just listen inwardly, tap into your guides. It's great to have people like me and so many other gifted people, do sessions with you, but you've got your own connections. And so just tap into that. How do you do that? It's so simple. It could be that walk. It could be picking a card. It could be closing your eyes for a second and just asking, what does my soul want? What does my soul want for me?
Nice. I love that. That's a really powerful question too. And just take the time and, like you said, just listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And just trust that you are getting your own information. There's no wrong information for you. And I think psychics and the work that I do around that is mostly helpful when somebody just needs a prompt or they need a nudge. And so sometimes that's all you need, just to get it going. And then you take it from there. And then surround yourself. So I said this already, really, but surround yourself with those kind of people so that you can go to. Hey, I've got my gal pals, and I'm like, hey, what do you hear when I say this? I need some, feedback, but feedback is different from people who are projecting. And so you want to be asking for feedback. So you're really trusted friends, and don't share information with people that you're not sure that whether they will give you honest feedback, but you know what I'm saying. So,
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
yeah. And you know who they are. You know who they are.
And once you get into a flow, it really is a magical space with synchronicity. You see it happening all the time, and having that awareness around that spiritual connection, that spirit is really functioning in our lives, moment to moment. It's really this co-creation that we're experiencing, from day to day. It really is a special, magical place. It's actually like one of my favorite things about life is the magical side of this thing. It just happens. I took a recent trip for my birthday last month, and one of my signs is 444. And before I left on my birthday trip, I was seeing 444, 444, even the license plate in front of me when I got on the ferry to go to the airport. And it was such a beautiful week and just so relaxing and so peaceful and so divine. And on my second plane ride home, I watched City of Angels, and it's one of my favorite movies, right? And I never noticed before that on the building, within the first 5 minutes of the movie, there's a huge 444 on the side of the building, right? Then I had to rewind it and take a picture of it just so I could like capture that moment of, just such gratitude, for how spirit is functioning in my life and how it's showing up and how it's telling me, hey, we're here, this was, meant to be, we are with you through this whole process. It's such a magical experience.
Yeah, I just learned since I've been studying a little bit about the twin flame experience, 1111 is kind of a sign of twin flame experience. And my daughter was born on 1111. I'm like, figure that out.
This is awesome. And what a coincidence that this podcast recording is airing on 2/2/2022.
Isn't it awesome? That's so cool. That makes my day. That totally does. I love it.
I loved it too. Two is so powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So fun. Gosh, I want to, in the beginning, you were talking about your experience and your healing process and how you made that connection, with the Atlantean part of yourself. I actually, it keeps on popping up in my mind. So I think that we need to go back and kind of revisit that for people who are having those same experiences, either with Atlantis or with Pleiadians, if they're star seeds or something like that. So can you talk a little bit more about your experience and maybe share some stories about people that you've been working with, maybe their experiences as well?
Well, a sacred synchronicity was when I did live in Houston. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico now, but I started my journey in Houston, and there was a retreat center that I started doing my retreats at. And I didn't realize this, but they had a facility you could rent, but over to the side, they had what they call their temple. And that was for kind of a unique type of, not religion, but practice, spiritual devotion. I didn't know anything about it, but I was in their library and I started to pull some books off, and there's all these books about Atlantis. So this is a whole sect, I guess you'd say, I don't know how the right word to say it, but a whole group of people who created a following. It started in England, I believe, called White Eagle Lodge, and they're all descendants of Atlantis. Wow. So my husband, before he was my husband, was at that retreat. He pulled a book off the shelf, and he saw like a depiction of an aircraft they called it a high flying aircraft, which looked like something, where you pedaled up in the sky or something. And he said, I was a pilot of one of these in Atlantis. Anyway, we've started to piece together. So I think, what I started to meet people And that was back in Houston many years ago, 15 or more years ago. I also met some healers in Houston who turned out we were all connected in Atlantis, and we would sit around the kitchen table. There was 4 of us, and hold hands, and we tapped into our Atlantean lifetime together and started speaking in this. It's quite hilarious at the same time because it sounds like gibberish, but we started speaking to each other in Atlantean, and there's no translation, but you understood perfectly what was being said. So I started having those kind of experiences, and then I moved here to Santa Fe, and now I'm doing more connection with people all over the world than just locally. But I think that's what happens is you remember, like something sparks, or if you tap into your Atlantean Akashic records, for example, you could do that. You could start to unravel who you were, what was going on. I happen just to have a lot of remembrance through the man that I married and my friends that I had started to make. And then now, most recently, this whole thing came around as I started using Atlantean gifts, which were my ability to see into the soul. And when you tap into your gifts, I believe, this is what is true for me, that your remembering will come in while you're using the gifts. Because where do you think you got them? Like you honed or developed them or birthed them in that particular lifetime. And so the more you go into your spiritual gifts, the more you're going to remember. That's been my experience. And that's how I started doing the Atlantean healing. I'm like, this isn't Jan of 2022 now, sitting here, just off the cuff thinking, oh, I think I'll do this. No, this is allowing spirit to bring to you what you already know. And so it's just a magical mystery tour right now with opening up those gifts like you did on Christmas, I guess. I go, well, what about this?
I love that, a magic mystery tour. Mystical tour.
I'm waiting for teleportation to happen.
Right, I would love that. That'd be so fantastic if we could do that, physically instead of just mentally or spiritually. It would be fantastic. Yeah, some people can. So maybe in the future, we'll see. And I love that. I love how you said that remembering too, because there is a space where we do go through that remembrance and we can bring those things into our lives. And it's also a space of realizing, that these gifts that I'm using, it's tapping into old things that have been with our soul, in many lifetimes, right? That we're just bringing forward as we develop and age and bring in these new things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 68 years old. Who would ever be thinking? I would have never thought I'd be starting my second career at this part of my life, but what is retirement? I never planned to retire. I want to be Barbara Marx Hubbard to the end, these kind of role models that led the way, Louise Hay, and all of these amazing women. So I do think that allowing ourselves to just be in the moment, I mean, it sounds a little trite, I guess, but I think COVID was the emphasis on that had us stop, pause, and reevaluate. That was the gift in that. And it certainly has been for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I hope for many others too. Like you said, when you go through a tragedy, it really does bring a different perspective and you start looking at life a lot differently. And I think that that's really been a gift. worldwide.
By the way, this is, talking about death. Oh my gosh. So first my husband died in 2017, and then the man that helped me birth Sacred Synchronicity, I'm like, he passed away last year suddenly. I mean, like he laid down on Saturday night to go to bed, and Easter morning, he was gone. But now he comes into many, if not all, probably more than maybe I realize sometimes, but he's coming into my sessions, and I don't do a lot of channeling really, but yeah, he's a very strong player. But when he died, I thought, oh no, I really am on this the magic of Sacred Synchronicity tour by myself. And then I realized, no, he's still out there midwifing it with me, and comes in at the right time. So, I learned this from my husband's death. Watched him go from here and to the other side. And it is that veil is so thin. And so we, that's another part of this that I really love is connecting with, our unseen friends, and allowing them to play a bigger part in my life. So much more fun.
Yeah, so much more fun that you can maintain that connection, that he can still, keep doing the work with you from the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in a better way. I mean, his energy from the other side is so strong. First time that came in, I spent the whole rest of the day in bed trying to integrate the energy. Yeah, so it's sometimes they can do a better, more powerful work, I guess, from that other side. So
yeah, I agree. I personally love the fact that spirit is with me when I'm doing my healings. They're always around.
Yeah.
I like to do that for my podcast interviews too. I always set up space before the podcast, that your healing team and my healing team be present, and that the information that needs to be heard, come through for the highest and best for everyone. I think that's important, and just the acknowledgement that spirit is always with us, always working with us, always there to try to give us a helping hand. Right.
Yeah. I had one of the hardest psychic sessions a few weeks ago. A longtime dear friend asked for a session and paid for it, and I know that he had struggled with health problems. I thought, well, maybe he wants me to, take him in the temple. I don't know what he's heard, but something drew him to do this. And again, nobody gave me the handbook on how to do this. It's just kind of in the moment. But I saw his death. And I didn't want to say it, but I had to. I was like, I can't bring my personality in. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here as a messenger. And so I told him what I saw. Of course, he was quite taken back because that wasn't what he was hoping to hear, I'm sure. And the very next day, he'd gone back to his doctor to get results from tests that he'd had prior to our session. And he has stage 4 cancer in his lungs and lymph. So it's really, his death is imminent. But what he came back to tell me, we did another follow-up last week. He said, I want you to know that while I didn't like what you told me, if you hadn't told me that, I couldn't have heard what the doctor said and know that it was true. I would have fought it.
Wow.
And he said, now my wife and I can have the conversations we need to have And those are difficult, but he said we needed to have it. And so they're actually co-creating this next transition where he leaves his body and he goes on to his next spiritual assignment. And I mean, it's just,
Wow, that is so powerful.
I was, I'm sad and I'm validated at the same time that, what we can do to help our friends.
Yeah, what a gift for he and his wife.
Mhm.
That's powerful, Jan. Do you have any other stories that you might want to share with us?
Oh, I helped somebody meet her person.
Ooh, share that one. I know a lot of people are looking for their person. It's
Yeah, a lot of
right
people,
now.
we all want that one, right?
Mhm.
And if I were to, I didn't know her very well. I knew her a little bit. I just say she was probably a happy being single person, but she approached me and said, "I want to meet a person." So we started having some sessions together, and she was very resistant. No, I'm not going to do that. No, not having that. And that's where it started. It was very resistant to, not doing that. No, I tried that. That doesn't work, And so it's kind of like, that's where we began. And so, I just encouraged her to do my 5-step plan that I call the strategic attraction plan for attracting your perfect romantic partner. And that really helped her open because it's a very gentle, nurturing plan. It's not like, I have to sign up for all the dating sites and I have to get myself out there, because it's based on what's perfect for yourself, not on anybody else, not what anybody tells you to do. It's really just looking inside of yourself to say, well, my perfect partner is going to love me with the 10 pounds I gained in COVID. I don't have to go on a diet. And that was some of her fears. The fears come up when you're first looking, and maybe you've set out for a while. Maybe, oh, I'm older. I have wrinkles. I have gained some weight. I have all these considerations. But then I helped her to understand, no, you're looking for your divine complement. Your divine complement sees you, it sees your soul. Your souls are what complement each other. And they like you the way you are. They like how you wear your hair, the clothes you wear. And anyway, so she started to get a little more confidence. That was in the last session we had before the holidays. And I met with her on Monday. And guess what? She didn't have to get on a dating site. She was really opposed to that. And I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to. I don't know how it'll happen. You don't have to. But basically, a couple friend, the woman of the couple friend, passed away. And she reconnected with the husband, and who she'd known them for years. So they already had a comfort level. They already had similar interests. They already knew about each other's lives. And they're dating now. Like it's, she's now, I really need you.
That's fun.
That's another example of, sacred synchronicity. We think, oh yeah, dating. I know how that's done these days. You got to do the online and all of that. But it's not necessarily true. Your divine partner is going to, you call them in when you're ready and your soul says, I'm ready, then things start to happen.
Nice. Can you walk us through briefly those 5 steps? I think our listeners would be interested in that.
Of course. So the first step, and just write it down and you can fill these in later, is to describe the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of your perfect what? Do you want a dinner date? Do you want a soulmate? You may be ready for a dinner date, but you're not ready for a soulmate. Or you may have been dating for a while and you're ready for that one long-term commitment. So just describe them. And you've probably done this before, you think about it at least. What do they look like? How do they act? What are some of their interests? And just start to, like you're painting a picture, but write it out in words. I call this your shopping list. Like if I were going to hand you, Liz, my shopping list for my perfect divine complement, you would need to know some information before you go shopping, right? So that's how I look at it, that you want to make it enough of a description so that somebody could fulfill on it. And then step 2 is where you look at more of the interconnection. And step 2, the title is identify what makes me, am I, whatever that is, divine complement tick. What makes me and my divine complement tick. And so you look inside yourself. This is what gets me out of the bed kind of approach of the plan. What is so important to me that I can't live without it? For me, hey, I've been dating and I didn't realize until I dated 2 men who were atheists. And then after the second one didn't work out, and it was like bonk on the head, I'm having one of these little self-Jan talks. Why did I attract 2 atheists? And I looked back and I realized that when Alan died, my husband, that I felt disconnected spiritually. And I had been acting as if for several years, as if I was spiritually connected when I really wasn't. I wasn't doing my connection. I wasn't speaking to the divine. I wasn't praying. I wasn't journaling. I wasn't, really tuning in. And hence, what came on my path were 2 people that are totally never going to be spiritually connected or a match for me. So that's when I realized I must have someone who's spiritually connected. That's what I'm about. That's what I need. And a month later, I met my twin flame who, whoa, be careful what you ask for, because that really threw me right into a deep personal spiritual journey. So that's step 2 is identify what is important to you in your heart and soul. Step 3, specify what I want my perfect divine complement to expect of me. This isn't about what I need to do to fill his expectations, but this is from his perspective or hers. They're looking, well, what do I want them to expect of me? I want them to expect of me, well, if you want to do a new hairdo, I'll have, new hair. I'll live in a certain geography. If you like tango, I've been taking tango lessons, maybe a guy that I would meet would want to do tango. You start to write out all the things I want them to expect of me, that I'm spiritually connected, of course, that I'm living true to who I really am, and this is the part where you stop complaining that you don't have what you want. Like this is the part where you don't point the finger out there anymore. I couldn't point it at those 2 men. They shouldn't have, been the way they were. I had to look at me and say, hey, why did I attract that? If that's not what I want, what do I really want? What must I have? And so that's step 3. And then step 4 is to declare who I get to be. Like I have to step into the being of someone who's single and available. If I want to meet someone, I can't be closed down. The door can't be shut. I need to, when you want to attract someone, there's a light, there's an energy that you send out that can be seen by your divine complement. And so send that out. And so you have to declare who I'm being is and fill in the blank. single and available. Start there if that's what you want. And then take actions. That's number 5. And if you take one action, that's what I recommend. Don't do a whole big list here. Just write down one attractive action. That's what I call an attractive action, is that it's in alignment with what you want, what makes you tick, what's perfect for you and who you're being. Now, what's one action I could take to make that move forward? And so you come up with what that baby step action will be. And that's the 5 steps.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Cool. How fun. And that really is, really looking into like, what do I want? How do I want to be in a relationship? How do I want my partner to be in a relationship? And I think it's great that you had that experience, with a couple dates where they weren't spiritual. So they gave you the gift of showing you what you wanted, and what you didn't want.
Mm-hmm. That's how it shows up sometimes.
Dating process. Yeah.
It shows up. Okay, that wasn't good. Well, okay, learning here. Mm-hmm. We're a learning planet. So what do I really want?
Yes. Oh my gosh, so true. Such a learning planet. Yeah. Why am I attracting what I'm attracting, right? The big question. And how do I switch that? I think that was a good point that you made too. What is it in me, right? And I think it's like that with everything, with business, clients, partners, friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we're not victims. Nobody did it to us. So the only power place to stand where we're truly in our personal power is to own it. I created that. Now, if that's not what I wanted to create, I get to create something better.
Yes, I love that. That personal empowerment piece. That really is so powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything that we missed that you might want to share with our audience?
Oh, wow. We covered a lot today. So, I think we said so many things. Let's draw a card and see what the last card is for today.
Yeah, let's do that. That's fun.
We'll use our magical powers here. This will be the unknown final message here.
Yes, the jewel of the day.
I like this. It's a card called Angel of Balance. And that's really what we spoke about today, is just balancing out our yin, our yang, our everyday life, our spiritual life, our masculine, our feminine, all of that. And there's an angel for that you can call on if you're feeling a little out of balance. Just call on the angel of balance and say, hey, help me come into alignment.
I love that, Jan. Thank you. That was really sweet way to end the show. Thanks.
Yeah.
Love the angels. And how can people get a hold of you if they would like to work with you?
I would love to hear from anybody. The best way is I do have a website of PerfectCustomers.com. You can check me out. That's all my old stuff. And I'm in the process of creating a new one, but go ahead and write me at jan@PerfectCustomers.com. And I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. You can check me out there. So I'll be, if whenever somebody actually does a psychic session with me, which I'm only charging $97 for right now, you also get a year membership in my inner circle. And once a month, we come together and we have a topic and we shine the light. We do a meditation. It's a wonderful, sweet group. And it's one of these where you're looking to surround yourself with like-minded, like-hearted people, soulful people. This is a great place to do that. So anyway, you can write me about that if you want to learn more, and I can tell you more about it.
Wonderful, Jan. That's awesome. And your group sounds amazing.
Yes.
Well, you might be hearing from me.
Okay, cool. I love it. I'd love it.
Thanks, Jan. This has been a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thanks. And thank you everyone for joining me. I'm Liz Peterson and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.